What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of Sneaks Rhymes in Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So crazy rain. Like we had flooding, all this crazy stuff in here in Toronto. Drake's house is had massive flooding. If you see it on Instagram, underwater. But we're going to story time. Story time. We normally record on a Monday, and today's Tuesday. We are going to tell a story about a fictional character that had a massive real life impact on the sneaker world. Really helped to, I guess, cultivate what we call the sneakerhead today. This is probably the first true sneakerhead we had ever seen in a major film, and how it translated to commercials, as well as how it translated to the growth of one of arguably the biggest brand of sneakers we have out there. So we're going to tell the story of how Mars Blackmon came to life. So we're going to go back, way back to the 50s. And we had a gentleman by the name of Sheldon Jackson Lee, affectionately known as Spike Lee, born on March 20th, 1957. He is an American film producer. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Ultimately, he went to Morehouse College and also in New York. But he's now created his own production company called 40 Acres and a Mule. If you know Spike, I got a chance to meet Spike way back in, that would be in 2016 All-Star Weekend here in Toronto. And, he was looking for the latest heat that was available shortly after MJ had been in the store, in the Jumpman store, which was a pop-up. Became a real store permanently and ultimately is now closed as Nike has shifted their business. But he is prominently known as a filmmaker. He's created some very unique, pro-Black, racially charged, but really giving people a tremendous perspective of the Black experience. So let me just name off some of the movies he's made. His first debut movie, and this is where Mars Blackmon comes from, is She's Got to Have It. He's also created movies such as School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues in 1990, Jungle Fever, which is a very interesting one. Malcolm X. He did that movie with Denzel Washington playing Malcolm X. Crooklyn, the story of Crooklyn. I swear I got some Brooklyn gear. I know it's Dodgers. I'm not a big fan. They're better than the Nets essentially because they win. It's a Jackie Robinson shirt here that I got on. So, big shout out to that piece. Inside Man, The Five Bloods. So he's also done a lot of other things that have been out there. But he's probably in most recent times most noticed for The Black Klansman. The Black Klansman was a movie that came out in 2018. That actually won an Academy Award, the first competitive Academy Award that Spike Lee's ever won. He's worked with, again, some tremendous actors over time. Giancarlo Esposito, Rosie Perez, Samuel L. Jackson, Lawrence Fishburne. I already mentioned Denzel Washington, amongst others. And Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, are some of the biggest films that he's created. So if we think back to the film history, back in 1985, he started to work on his first film. It was a black and white film, concerns with a young woman who was seeing three men. She had feelings within this arrangement. And one of the unique things that Spike Lee did is Spike Lee created a character that was in the movie, and we will affectionately call him Mars Blackmon. So again, he's a fictional character. He's in this movie. He is a Brooklyn loving, hence why I'm wearing Brooklyn gear to represent Mars. Basketball loving. He loves Michael Jordan. His favorite shoes are Air Jordans. No one can tell him any different. And he's also a diehard Knicks fan. This is before the Brooklyn Nets existed. Maybe he would have been a Nets fan, but he's a diehard Knicks fan. There's even in a scene within the movie that he's with the girl of his dreams and he refuses to take off his sneakers because they're his Air Jordan sneakers. So it is so interesting that that he had such a love affair, and then this ultimately translated to essentially Spike Lee creating this character that so many people resonated with. He was quirky, he was unique. He was also not your average, big time character. Essentially, he was a supporting character, but there were people at Nike that absolutely loved this character, thought the character was amazing, really thought that Spike Lee had created something really, really special. So a couple Nike executives, and I don't have the names in front of me here, but a couple Nike executives way back in this would have been 1986, essentially saw his movie when they were in Portland. She's Got to Have It, and with these with this movie, they had an absolute love affair with the character that Spike Lee created, Mars Blackmon. They approached Spike. They says, "Hey, we've released, a couple Jordan models. We really want to ensure that we find a way to really connect with the consumer in a whole different way. Michael really hasn't spoken much in any of the commercials that we've done for his shoe. How would you feel about being a part of the commercial?" Spike was thrilled. Spike essentially thought it was a joke that one of his friends was playing on him. But after further conversation, Spike Lee decided to pursue this. He was granted the full autonomy to create a commercial for Jordan. I think the first commercial was the Air Jordan 3, and iconically you see Spike Lee doing all of the talking in the Mars Blackmon character. So he's got like this flipped up hat, he's wearing a tank top, he's wearing in these 80s retro shorts, and he's wearing the Jordan 3. And in this commercial, Mike still doesn't really do any talking, but Mike does all the acting. And Spike really helps to bring this character to life. People loved the commercial. People thought it was absolutely amazing, and people were obsessed with the Jordan 3. I think it also had to do with the performance that Jordan had in the Jordan 3. This is the year that Jordan was MVP, defensive player of the year. He was first team All-NBA. He was the leading scorer in the league. He was the All-Star MVP, and he won the slam dunk contest. And it's like that's something that's never really been done in one particular season. So, and a crazy accomplishment to do it in that shoe. So we were on to something. Nike knew that they had something. Spike definitely knew he had something. So on became a series of commercials that kind of coincided and tied together Spike Lee in this character of Mars Blackmon and Michael Jordan. So they did a commercial for the Jordan 3. They did a commercial for the Jordan 4, the commercial for the Jordan 5. And these commercials continued. It was almost like a series. These commercials continue to have a life of their own. It really kind of brought the street and fashion and sport all together in one. Spike has essentially now created an icon, something that the kids could truly relate to. In New York, in these times, and in particularly in the NBA, there was so much talk about drug abuse. There was so much talk about the league being a two-horse race between the Celtics and the Lakers at this point. This allowed the league to focus on this shining, budding new superstar on the scene. And this really helped to put Nike as a brand, but also the Jordan brand in a totally different light than it ever had been before. So pretty amazing that this commercial and this steam behind these commercials really kind of took off and really translated with so many different people. Now, saying all of that, we've now created the phenomenon. Jordans were now selling out instantly. People were lining up a day, 2 days before to buy sneakers. They did not sit on shelves that they did with a couple of the other models. That's kind of the fun thing about the Lost and Found Jordan 1 that launched a few years ago. It was actually marked down to $65 because people just had them. People didn't know what the Air Jordan was, and even though they saw one, it didn't sell out the way that people thought in the onset. It did collect steam, but then Jordan got hurt around the time the Jordan 2 took off or was launching, and it really didn't. He missed so much of the season, it didn't really translate. The Jordan 3 was really where the shoe needed to be taken off and really go into a whole nother level. And with help of Spike Lee and this Mars Blackmon character, they were able to achieve that. And that led to the Jordan 4, the Jordan 5. And again, these were all designed by Tinker Hatfield, which really took the reins and, again, created a shoe that really didn't exist within the marketplace. A shoe that looked totally different. This was the first, essentially, swooshless Jordan shoe that really people wanted. The Jordan 2 didn't have a swoosh, but the Jordan 3 was the sought after commodity. And whether you like the white cement or the black cement, I think that's an argument we can have till the cows come home on which one you really think is the better of the two models. Most people will say black cement. There's definitely a camp like me that say loves the white cement even more. They've done a reimagine of that one. Justin Timberlake did a version of that one. We got the Nike Air on the back. We got the Jordan 1. It's been retro as many as any other Jordan model that's been out there. So the impact that Spike Lee had on creating a commercial that really resonated with the consumer and also really resonated with people. And whether you were in the basketball community, you were in the fashion community, you were now in the sneaker community, it is truly amazing. And for that, Spike deserved his flowers. Forget about the flowers just for being this incredible director, directing all of these amazing movies over time. But he was able to connect such an impact with so many people with this particular campaign. So shout out to Spike, shout out to what he was able to do. And then if we kind of talk about the impact of, obviously, She's Got to Have It, I think the true impact that we really need to talk about and really has been celebrated in recent times is the 35th anniversary of Do the Right Thing. And I know that we talk about that was the first moment that sneakers really showed up in a black movie in such a capacity. We then have an incredible scene early on in Do the Right Thing, and again, many actors are in this. Spike Lee wrote it, produced it, directed it. He plays a significant character in this movie, Samuel L. Jackson. But I think we've got to talk about the Giancarlo Esposito scene. He's wearing the Jordan 4. The Jordan 4, this is before I think even the Jordan 4 was available at this time. He's wearing the Jordan 4. He is on the street. He is standing there with the homies on the street, and a white gentleman in a Larry Bird jersey with a bike runs over his brand new white cement Jordan 4s. This sends him to an absolute outrage. You just dogged my brand new Air Jordan, Michael Jordan shoes. That is, the conversation in the scene is one of my favorite scenes of any movie at any time. The impact of this scene and really having the shoe once again at the forefront. We're talking about a messed up pair of Jordan 4s. His friends say they're dog. You need to fight him. You need to take him out. It is an iconic scene with this tire mark on this pair of white cement Jordan 4s. So if we think more about the movie, Martin Lawrence makes an appearance in this, Rosie Perez in him. And again, we talk about the movie, and it really is centers around, once again, Brooklyn, New York. Sorry, I just dropped my phone. Centers around Brooklyn, New York, and the racial tension between some of the Italians and some of the black people, all surrounding this local pizzeria, Sal's Pizzeria. So in Sal's Pizzeria, owned by Italians, they have all of these famous white Italians on the wall. People question why. Hey, why do you not have any black people on the wall? You live in a black neighborhood, but you have a white Hall of Fame, essentially. You have Mickey Mantle. You have all of these different people that are on this wall. And it ultimately leads to tension. I don't want to spoil the movie if you've never seen it. I highly recommend that you go out and see it. But you can see how we're in a world today where we have to find ways that both blacks and whites and Asians and East Indians and every nationality under the sun finds a way to live together. We are in some crazy dark times with what's happening in Gaza, and essentially a genocide of what's happening with the people in Palestine. But if we kind of spin the narrative here, this was an incredible movie despite the racial tension, and it really got people to think about what is happening in the world. Really got people to understand there's some tremendous tension that's out there. This movie ultimately grossed like $37 million. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that was a lot for a movie that only had a $6 million budget, that was made by a black film director in the 80s. This is not even a 90s film. This is in the 80s. So we think about this movie. This movie, we got 25-year-old Mookie. And essentially, this is the it almost feels like a reiteration of the Mars Blackmon character within him. He lives in New York. He's specifically in Brooklyn. He's got people that live in the neighborhood. He's got good old Bugging Out. Bugging Out is the character actually has his shoe run over by this gentleman. And obviously you can see the tension between whites and blacks within the neighborhood. Ultimately, because of what's happening in the wall, Bugging Out says that he wants to boycott Sal's Pizzeria, even though it's like the best pizza in the neighborhood. And then ultimately, don't want to get too far down the plot, but there's a fire, and then there's a fight, and all surrounding the music that's being played, and it's an amazing soundtrack played by Public Enemy. The hit song "Fight the Power" is the one that is intergrained. So you can see how film and music and basketball and hip hop essentially all intertwine, and Spike is essentially stirring this pot with all of these different ingredients and really making this kind of come to life. So we have the Jordan 4 in this movie, featured the white cement, and it plays quite an iconic role, and really stands for how such a small thing in some people's cases, but it means something that is small to one can mean a lot to somebody else. Ultimately, it leads to a lot of tension, but it leaves you with a lot of areas to really think about, and what it means. So again, Spike Lee received a ton of critical reception, or acclaim and reception from this. From Siskel and Ebert to many other people. Now, he didn't win an Academy Award for this. Some people didn't like the characters. Based on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 91. Based on 100 reviews, it got 9.2 out of 10. So it was smart, brilliant. It was something that we needed at the time. This is right around the time of the Rodney King verdict and everything that happened with him. So it was a sign of the times, and really made a cultural impact. So think of these statements in these movies that Spike Lee is making, and how they're all tying in together with basketball and hip hop and ultimately sneaker culture and now all being displayed within the film industry. So it's amazing. So this is 1989. Part of the shoe again, White Cement 4 for those sneakerheads that are out there that are listening from that point of view. Public Enemy is the soundtrack. No better group in the 80s could have captured the strength and the frustration of the times in this movie, and to fight the power against the man and essentially all of those that have the authority is just an amazing point of view and a time that we were in. So that's 1989. Fast forward to 2024. We're 35 years from that movie. So we are now having a celebration. Most recently, end of June, I think it's when the movie released, Spike had a special event. He has a production company, 40 Acre is a Mule, and a mule that he's helped create. He's done lots of collaborations with the Jordan brand. In 2006, there was a Mars Jordan 4 fire red with the little Mars logo that was on it. So that was pretty amazing to see. But also in 2016, and I'm just going to open the box here. 2006. For those that watching on YouTube can see it on video, but we got in the time of Fusion, and I know there's been lots of conversations about Fusion. Whether it is the Jordan 1 Fusions that look like Jordan 11s, Dub Zeros have been out. We see so many different ones, but this is kind of the granddaddy of them all, the Jordan Spizike. So the Spizike essentially is tied to Spike Lee. I wouldn't say his signature shoe, but it's a shoe that associates with Spike, and kind of really celebrates the partnership between Jordan and Spike Lee. And it's funny to hear, Spike even talk about the stories of when he first talked to Jordan and how they had to collaborate. What is unique about this specific shoe is that one, for those again that can see it on YouTube, there is the Spike Lee or Mars Blackmon logo that's on the back. When you look at the Jordan Spizike, it is a combination of some of the most iconic Jordans that Spike Lee took a part of. So outside the midsole and the outsole, we have the Jordan 3. The Jordan 5 is represented by the lace lock and also the mesh along the side. We have the triangle and essentially the wing, as many people call it, of the Jordan 4. So, hey, that's rolled 4 shoes together. Combination that we have the tongue of the Jordan 6, which is another great Spike Lee iconic commercial featuring Mars Blackmon, all tied in with the shoe of most recent time when this released, which was the Jordan 20. So to capture the history of everything that maybe Spike Lee was involved in or Mars Blackmon as a character, there is like a laser print with inside the shoe. Now this is the I call it the USA one, or I think one of my favorite ones was the first one, which was black and red and had some like patent leather that was on it. I think that released like 6 months before that, but this is the first one that was in stores in Foot Locker when I was a store manager. So this one still holds tremendous value to me. I've worn a few of the other ones that I have within my collection, but this one is one that really holds significant value and again, sentimental value more importantly, is this one here. So fast forward to, again, back now from, we went to 2006. Now fast forward again to 2024. Why do we have all these Spizikes? Well, we're now celebrating the 35th anniversary of Do the Right Thing. We're also celebrating the partnership that is around that time of Nike and Jordan partnering together. It commemorates 35 years at least of Jordan and Spike Lee working together to create these amazing moments in commercials that really talk about Mars Blackmon, this ultimate Knicks Jordan lover, and lover of Air Jordans, thinking he's the greatest player on the planet, and this iconic athlete in Michael Jordan that's wearing this incredibly state-of-the-art, time-moving basketball shoe at that time. First it was the Jordan 3, then the 4, then the 5, then the 6, and off we go down the road, and we created essentially a sneaker monster in those times. So it's really amazing to see that we've now come full circle, 35 years. Instead of launching the Spizike, the regular one, the mid cut, or you can call it the high, they've now launched a series of lows. And it's funny that the market, whether they just liked the shoe or they were looking for something different or something more affordable, people have actually loved the Spizike. I think there's so many more shoes that are in the trend now that people have now gravitated away from highs, and that's probably part of the challenges with the basketball market and why it hasn't taken off significantly. We have so many basketball players now, whether it's John Morant, Steve Nash was the first one. We had Kobe create, a series of shoes that are all low cuts until he hurt his Achilles, and we came with the Kobe 9 that was a super high cut. There's so many shoes that now come as a low top model. You can go Kevin Durant, you can definitely talk about Luka and even Zion Williamson. Their shoes are not super high. They're more mid to even low depending on the shoe. Devin Booker's the Book 1 is really essentially a low cut shoe. So the times have really changed, and people have really gravitated to having a low cut shoe. So particularly now having a Spizike low, Black Red was out. There's a Carolina one that's now on the market. The White Team Red has been very popular this summer, great summer shoe, and I'm sure there'll be more to come as we roll through holiday. Triple Black definitely is on the way or out in market, just hitting markets now. As we move now towards back to school, kids need all black shoe. That's a great one. You want to wear a Jordan, you don't want to wear a 1. You say they're out of style. There's no Jordan 3 that's all black that you can wear to school. The Triple Black Spizike will be the one that definitely does the trick. So that is kind of summation. So this is how a fictional character, Mars Blackmon, created by Spike Lee, has really helped the sneaker market take off and really make an impact through some of these commercials. We now have Spike Lee shoes. There was there's even the Son of Mars that's coming out. There was a 720 Mars that I think Spike Lee's son actually helped to design. So there is a legacy of what Spike Lee has created with the Jordan brand. And hey, not all of these were hits. Not all of these were amazing shoes, but the imprint of a film director who created a fictional character is definitely imprinted on the sneaker market. The way that Mars Blackmon specifically talked about it in She's Got to Have It, talked about his love for Air Jordan. That was almost like the first time we ever saw a sneakerhead truly on the mainstream in a movie that people that love sneakers, people love Pumas, people love Adidas Superstars, people loved many of the Nike models in the 80s and even into the 70s, now could really identify that he was speaking to the culture. And that's why we talk about some that try to steal the culture. Spike Lee, in this case, helped create the culture where we kind of really, for the first time, brought the sneakerhead to the big screen. And that is kind of an amazing piece that Spike Lee was able to create. Spike Lee was able to really capture, and then ultimately he brought it to TV. He brought it to TV through commercials that he did with Jordan. And for that, we got to be truly grateful. So Spike Lee, I gave Nori his flowers last week. Spike Lee, you definitely deserve your flowers. Some amazing things you've done. I have an honor and a pleasure to meet you. Sometimes I say I'm the Spike Lee of Canada. I'm a diehard Knicks fan like Spike Lee is. We got bridges now. We we were able to sign OG. We didn't get iHeart to stay with us. We're working on what the bench and the role players look like, but Knicks are coming for the Celtics. Whether they get there or not is a whole different story, but I think definitely the Knicks have made some strides with Jalen Brunson's new contract extension that is team friendly. There will be room to continue to add and to build and to keep this team together as we continue to build as we go down the road. The whole starting five is in their 20s, with I think essential of Randall, who's almost 30 or is 30. So there'll be a lot of building that we can do over the next several years. So Knicks are in the game, but really, again, to go back to Spike Lee, thank you for everything you've done. Pleasure to meet you back in 2016 at All-Star Weekend, literally the coldest All-Star Weekend we've ever come across. But this is Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. Thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you for listening to hear me talk about Spike Lee, talk about the Jordan 3 and the Jordan 4, talk about these commercials, talk about how all of this kind of came to be, and really the impact of this fictional character, Mars Blackmon, directed by Spike Lee, cannot be underestimated. So for that, Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life, we are out. Thank you so much for listening. Catch us on the next episode. We out. Peace.